activists, and the billionaire defenders, and the journalist defenders, and the people who react to those people, and everyone. Everyone's at it again. After Elon Musk announced that he's going to create a website where the public can rate the core truth of any article and track the credibility score over time of each journalist, editor, and publication. Because the accuracy of news should be rated by a public that believes in fake news and has what a Stanford study describes as a dismaying, bleak inability to discern fake from real news. An inability that is a threat to democracy. So let's get all those people a website. Elon and others discussed how bias will be removed from the ranking system by algorithms, so there will definitely be no bias there. Just trust that it will be fine and able to avoid the many ways in which a public truth ranking website could be manipulated and abused. While discussing his solution to fake news, Musk also praised the voting system of Reddit, the famous catchers of not the Boston bomber. Musk, a billionaire, is going to call his website Pravda after the former Soviet Union's propaganda paper Pravda. When it was pointed out how, even though it's not exactly the same thing, maybe that name is illustrative of why it's a bad idea, Musk replied, it's satire, duh, because satire is doing something seriously, but giving it a cute name. But he also recently hired writers from The Onion for a secret comedy project, and he claims that, darn it, he didn't know Pravda was taken, so he has to go with pravda.com, which seems like a joke website. But also, Pravda was incorporated a year ago, so did he just not think to check for the website? The website seems like a joke, but Elon keeps saying he's doing it and it's real, and he thinks it's a good idea, so I guess we'll take him at his word, duh. The announcement of the website was made after months of seemingly increasingly negative press coverage concerning Tesla's working conditions, Musk's resistance to and suppression of unions, false reporting of accidents at factories, safety concerns about Tesla's autopilot feature, and how, while dancing at his wedding, he whispered to his wife, "I'm the alpha in this relationship." There are, of course, legitimate criticisms to be made about the press and ways to hold them accountable and to fight fake news, and some of them probably involve supporting websites like the Pulitzer Prize-winning PolitiFact or Fair.org, who strive for fairness and accuracy in reporting, or ClimateFeedback.org, a worldwide network of scientists who sort fact from fiction in climate change media coverage. But maybe the solution to fake news isn't a sensitive billionaire who, during the process of pitching his journalistic integrity website, shared supportive articles from a website by a Tesla fanboy with writers who own Tesla stock and share promo codes for Tesla, and The Knife, which is linked to a sex cult. According to Musk, sadly, it had better critical analysis than most non-cult media. So, thanks for the critical analysis, cult. Musk also retweeted Stan Lee's support of Musk and attack on The Hollywood Reporter, possibly because of their report on the alleged abuse of Lee by his handlers who run his social media. I'm sure that it was definitely a tweet from Lee and not his handlers, and that Musk did his due diligence, understood the context, was discerning in his sharing of news, and would have given that story an upvote on Pravda. It is unfortunate, though, that the first official media response to Elon's arguably bad idea to challenge journalistic integrity was a New York Times article from Bret Stephens, who said Elon is just a Trump complainer, and electric cars are bad, actually, and fossil fuels are good, actually. Because that's not a fair or honest representation of Musk or what he's doing, Bret Stephens. Let's not simply diminish what Musk is trying to do. Aside from be rich and play spaceboy, he's working towards renewable and sustainable energy, which is admirable. He sent batteries and tech to help Puerto Rico's power grid recover, which, speaking of, here's some news. A Harvard study found that the government's claim that 64 people died in Puerto Rico due to Hurricane Maria was off by 4,581. So, 4,645 deaths. Right on, okay. Right on. Do we have an old clip of the president grading himself on his and the government's response to the hurricane on a scale
We've
of 1 to
actually
10?
watched that
Give
before.
ourselves a 10.
Okay, but now how about on a scale of 1 to 4,645?
I give ourselves a 10.
Dang! Off by 4,635. Anything else to add?
Now, I hate to tell you, Puerto Rico, but you've thrown our budget a little out of whack.
Well, maybe you should have just thrown some more paper towels. But at least Puerto Rico is not ready for another hurricane season. But my point is, Tesla has helped there, which is good. Musk's batteries have kept power on during continuing blackouts there. And wild thought, it's actually good to strive for renewable, sustainable energy. And fossil fuels aren't good, actually. So maybe, Brett Stevens, shut the f*** up, you're not helping. Though, the comparison of Musk to Trump in regards to his attacks on the press and his inability to receive criticism isn't unfounded. They both have rabid cult-like followings that harass anyone they single out, and then offer feckless statements of condemnation when it's brought to their attention. They're both the kind of guy who would whisper, "I'm the alpha in this relationship," while dancing with their new bride. They both unreasonably lash out when challenged. They both send out poorly worded polls to get their desired result. For example, let's say Musk wants to prove that his crowdsource the truth website idea is good, actually. He might make a poll that says, create a media credibility rating site that also flags propaganda botnets with the options, yes, this would be good, and no, media are awesome. And media is worthy of criticism, but your bad idea is also bad? Nope. Oh, okay, just the first two? Great, cool. To further prove his point, Musk replied, "Come on, media, you can do it. Get more people to vote for you. You are literally the media." And scientist Upuli Divisekera might respond, "With all due respect, this is pathetic." And Elon might respond, "Ahem, you have nano in your bio? That is 100% synonymous with BS." Of course, she actually has nanotechnologist in her bio, which is a real thing. And in classic Trump, there's a tweet for everything style, one could point to Musk discussing how he's a nano manager. So maybe the way Elon uses nano is BS, but the way scientists use it, as many scientists explain to Musk, is to describe actual science things. But instead of maybe admitting he was being a bit of a diped up baby boy and was wrong about this, and that the Nobel Prize was awarded.
But
in
rockets
2016
landing
for
on ships are
nanomachines,
so cool.
Musk decided to prove his point that the mere existence of the word nano is bullshit by sharing a link to Uncyclopedia, which I hear has a 110% accuracy rating on Pravda. But like I said, the media, of course, can be criticized and need to be held to account, even about little things, like when they describe Roseanne's racist joke as racially charged, or the liar president's blatant lies as bending the truth, or when AP tweets Missouri governor...
Yeah, okay. Clear joker. Maybe it's cool. Maybe rockets landing on ships and ports or whatever are cool. Here's the thing. Right now, in some parts of the world, depending on where you are, it's either underwater, on fire, going through a drought, or maybe just becoming completely uninhabitable. So the fact of the matter is that we need more science, technology, innovation, research, and development in finding a way to combat climate change. Instead of giving millions of dollars in government subsidy to Elon Musk so he can find a way to land a rocket ship on a motherfucking boat. All right? This is the problem. Whenever we fanboy Elon Musk and we give him so much power and influence to find a way to shoot a 95, whatever kind of car it was, not a 95, it's like a 55, whatever the kind of car it was to launch into space. Whenever we give him so much money to find a way to drill deep into beyond the crust of the earth to create an underground high-speed rail line that will inevitably fail, as Do Not Eat explains. We are being willfully negligent to the fact that if we do not find a way to safely transfer away from fossil fuel to green energy, we're going to die. We're going to die our planet is going to be uninhabitable, and all of the time, the energy, and dare I say, talent from the smart people that could be used to find a way to move toward a green energy infrastructure is slaving away begrudgingly for Elon Musk, because they are the nanotechnologists, they are the bioengineers who are being hired to carry out whatever silly vision that Elon Musk has. He's also working on solar power. Oh shit, that scared the shit out of me. He's also working on solar power. Well, that's great. That's great if Elon Musk is taking some money from his holdings, placing them into some separate subsidiary, and using some of his workers to lead the way in solar panel technology that already exists. I think that Rockefeller and Ford were the Bezos and Musk of their times. They were idolized and respected by their contemporaries and innovated society for the better or worse. I mean, that's a fair assessment. And think about the ways that both Ford and Rockefeller found a way to leverage their power by convincing certain members of Congress and other people in positions of power to allow them to make all of the major decisions in their company and be the gods in their community by holding on to their money, by not having to be taxed at a fair amount, but then also finding a way to give back, to be the philanthropic gods of their time, right? Who was it? Was it Hassan Minhaj, who did a pretty good piece on explaining the history of billionaires, or what would be billionaires today? Musk is Edison? Rockefeller is the reason we have the Antitrust Act.
Eric Greeton's
But yeah, no, I know that Elon Musk gets a lot of credit for doing seemingly cool things that in the long run will do nothing to enhance our well-being or increase our own material conditions, or even be used to, I don't know, maybe save the planet. Whenever it comes to looking at whether his services will be used for public good or service or just another luxury that might one day be commodified, I guess it's yet to be seen. Why destroy the planet in order to advance finding the next planet? Why not fix it then move on? Well, exactly. My point exactly. Elon Musk is using his workers, government subsidies, to further his own agenda. That's not rooted in egalitarianism, that is not intended to be provided to all as a public utility. It is literally to advance his own agenda, to further his own idea of innovation and technology that will, first and foremost, be used to enrich him handsomely if his projects are a success.
Navy SEAL, once seen as rising Republican star, resigns amid extramarital affair scandal, which is a weird way to spell sexual assault. You have 280 characters, AP, get it together. But Elon's diaper filling incident seems to be in response to reports from Reveal regarding his factory's working conditions and safety record. An investigative report found that despite claims that the factory was now safer than it used to be, Tesla had left many injuries unreported. Elon tweeted that the problem with journos are under constant pressure to get max clicks and earn advertising dollars or get fired. Tricky situation, as Tesla doesn't advertise, but fossil fuel companies and gas diesel car companies are among world's biggest advertisers. When Jessica Huseman of ProPublica, winner of multiple Pulitzer and Peabody Awards, pointed out that Reveal from the Center for Investigative Reporting is actually a nonprofit that doesn't have ads, and so they don't have that problem. And then Elon responded by saying, no, they're just some rich kids in Berkeley who took their political science prof too seriously. This from the actual billionaire who grew up with literal emeralds in his pocket, who once said during an earnings call about the CEO of Daimler who has a doctorate in engineering, he doesn't know much about physics. I know him. I'd be happy to engage in a physics discussion with him. I actually studied physics in college. So good, Elon, about the other people. But let's stop talking about Elon Musk forever. Because here's a little bit of the news. The Supreme Court has sided with employers in regards to forced arbitration, which among other things deprives workers of the ability to form class action lawsuits against companies for things like wage theft and discrimination. The decision also deprives workers of their day in court and allows for forced arbitration contracts to get bonuses or in some cases, hired. Companies who traditionally have arbiters on retainer to benefit them in such cases now seem to be even more powerful than workers who do not. This decision is not surprising, coming from the Supreme Court's newest all-star, Neil Gorsuch, who filled a vacancy that Congress refused to fill for a year while Obama was still in office. Gorsuch was chosen by President Donald Trump, a smarty and a goodie, who has a sordid history in regards to how he treats laborers and unions. Not surprising, coming from a billionaire in a time of ever-increasing inequality, since labor unions tend to sustain prosperity and ensure that it is shared. The Economic Policy Institute illustrates, as union membership decreases, income inequality rises and wealth floods to the top 10%, a trend that can be viewed since 1917. So, as a billionaire, in this time of growing disparity between most people and billionaires, maybe Elon Musk, damn, I thought we weren't gonna talk about him, but maybe Elon Musk can understand some of the negative interpretations of his actions and powerful position, despite his ultimate goal of renewable, sustainable energy being a good one. Much of the criticism that Musk deflects is in regards to his view and seeming suppression of unions. Despite efforts by the United Auto Workers and Tesla workers, Tesla is not unionized. Elon, of course, claims that the only reason his workers haven't unionized is because they don't want to, though maybe it's because, as the United Auto Workers allege, Tesla fired a bunch of workers who had been vocal about low pay and hazardous working conditions. But they can unionize anytime, despite getting company emails in which the CEO claims that the union's true allegiance is to the giant car companies, where the money they take from employees and dues is vastly more than they could ever make from Tesla. Then why?
So, again, prime example, Elon Musk does not give a fuck about you and his employees. Whenever he actively fired people and then employed union busting tactics to anybody who got caught talking about low wages and maybe were beginning the first stage of unionizing, organizing a union, they were shit canned. This is not an accident. And this is illegal, by the way. All right, federal union protections allow anybody to organize on company time during lunch breaks. They have the freedom to organize a union and they cannot be subjected to wrongful termination. That is, once again, illegal. It happens all the time. Doesn't change the fact that it's illegal. It is. Just another reason why Elon Musk does not care about his employees. He only understands the value of their labor. The productiveness of their labor is the only thing that Elon Musk cares about, not as people, but as objects who produce labor. Isn't unionizing talk protected under the First? Oh yes, I mean, of course that First Amendment rights would extend to organizing efforts, but there's actually federal law. There's federal law in place that does protect anybody from the wrongful firing if they do start to organize. Laws? Why are you laughing? I mean, these were introduced during FDR. Thank you, Investopedia. 8 federal laws that protect employees. We just looked at these not too long ago, but that's okay. Workplace safety, minimum wage, health coverage, social security, unemployment benefits, whistleblower protections, family leaves. Wait, where are they? Hold on. Oh, unions. Sorry. That's it. I didn't say they don't exist, ma'am. Please don't shout at me. I'm not yelling at you. My apologies. It's just important to, let's just pull them up and look at them real quick because, you know. What is the National Labor Relations Act? Here we go. Labor unions officially obtained the right to represent employees under the law when the National Labor Relations Act was passed in 1935. It guarantees basic rights of private sector employees to organize trade unions, engage in collective bargaining, and enjoy other rights including striking if necessary. The NLRA covers employees who work for employers involved in interstate commerce. The term, well, that's just covering, but it covers all of them, but also interstate commerce because that's more so considered public. When the NLRA was passed by Congress, the National Labor Relations Board was also created. The NLRB has 2 basic functions: oversee an employee's decision-making process of whether to be represented by a labor organization and prosecuting NLRA violations. So this is basically the recourse that's available if you feel as though you are wrongfully terminated. Essentially, the NLRB's job is to police the relationships between employees, their unions, and their employers, and ensure that ensures that the NLRA is enforced. Literally working class and defending capitalism, you hate to see. Okay, so just bring that point home. It is illegal to fire your employees who might be actively organizing a trade union because under federal law, they are granted permission to do such, even on company time. They are allowed to read about union organizing material on their lunch breaks. They cannot be fired. It is illegal. All right.
Why do they and the workers want to unionize your factory, man? To destroy you?
Yeah, this is really loud, sorry.
Via unionizing to benefit giant car companies who have also unionized? So don't join the evil union, because as the boss continues, there will also be little things that come along, like free frozen yogurt stands scattered around the factory. Or, in other words,
It's basically the same deal, except we get a free keg
Well,
of beer.
Here in California, state law requires an employer who is an employer if an employee is working an 8-hour shift, then California state law requires them to take 2 10-minute breaks paid 10-minute breaks. So technically, under those paid company breaks, I would assume that you are able to read those materials. I don't know about your lunch breaks. Some states do require you to take a lunch break. Here in California, you have to take a lunch break after working 5 hours of an 8-hour shift. Now, depending on whether or not that's paid or not, I think that's the employer's prerogative. But yeah, I would say that there's a possibility to read union material during paid time off on the job, like in California, during those 10-minute breaks that would offer you protection.
For a meeting.
But they can unionize anytime. They just don't want to. As Elon tweeted, "Nothing stopping Tesla team at our car plant from voting union. Could do so tomorrow if they wanted, but why pay union dues and give up stock options for nothing? Our safety record is 2 times better than when plant was UAW and everybody already gets health care." See? Nothing's stopping them from voting union. Just maybe their boss saying they'd have to give up stock options, something the UAW doesn't have a rule about, and a statement that prompted them to file another complaint claiming Musk violated the National Labor Relations Act, which prohibits making threats or promises to workers to discourage them from joining unions. Tesla clarified that Musk's comment simply recognized that other automakers whose workers are represented by the UAW do not provide stock options, which doesn't preclude companies from providing stock options, and is a funny way to say, quote, give up stock options for nothing, which they wouldn't have to do if they joined a union unless Elon's statement was indeed a threat. But the workers should be grateful for those stock options. As Tesla put it, the United Auto Workers...
Are you mad that Bernie lost? Am I mad that Bernie lost? Is this good faith? It's absolutely not. I've never had anybody come in and frame a question in that way. That is loaded, sir. That's a loaded question. I know one when I see one. Ain't this stream low-key a parasocial relationship? Like if I died tomorrow, you would never know. Excuse me. Me of all people, I will push back ever so slightly, because if you are a regular in this channel, I will notice your absence. I will. I will. Bernie was robbed. Just a question. Haven't seen her stream in a bit. No, Raymond, I wouldn't say that you're a regular. Like My Hero Kelly. I haven't seen My Hero Kelly in a while. I was thinking about My Hero Kelly today. I was like, I wonder how My Hero Kelly's doing. Haven't seen him around in a while. A regular what? A regular chatter. I notice, all right? Whether you think that's creepy or not, I notice. Think about our fallen lurkers, though. Hey. So this is a parasocial relationship if we're talking about me and you. I think that a parasocial relationship is more so whenever the viewer starts to acquire a sense of connection or feels a certain type of way toward the streamer. that can be unhealthy. Yes. In the same way that you start to develop a connection with a billionaire, or you have a great respect for them, or you look up to them in a way, and the inability to actually have a one-on-one connection is much the same, but the difference is that simping relationship. I mean, the difference is that the exposure that I get to people and I get to talk to them and have conversations with them that can be misconstrued as connections is, what we're doing here. But it's it's having the same kind of energy and spending time with me and having conversations with me and then having a high regard for people like Elon Musk, I think is the comparison that we see whenever we're talking about parasocial relationships, and thinking so highly about somebody who doesn't know who you are, who doesn't respect you, even if you are an employee of Elon Musk. He doesn't respect you enough to even want to give you union protections or collectively bargain for better working conditions, better pay, better benefits, or anything that is done through unionization. You have a nice place, legit exercise equipment, nothing too fancy. Where does that money come from? What? What do you mean, where does the money come from? Okay, so over here you can't really see it, but I have my work set up. So I do work, still a regular ass job. But then also, what gets you paid? Is she low-key loaded? Wow, 1% Amy? I don't think there's anything wrong with thinking highly of someone you don't know. I'm not talking about that. I think that you can think highly. I think you can think highly of many people that you don't know, who don't know you personally. I'm talking about thinking highly of the people who don't give a shit about you. That is the issue. Thinking highly of somebody like, okay, so let's think about this. Let's think about Jeff Bezos versus AOC. Jeff Bezos versus AOC. All right, let's do that. Jeff Bezos sent out like a call. He was like, all right, I need to find a place for Amazon headquarters. Number 2, highest bidder with the best incentives to touch down in a city gets Amazon. There was an incentivization program that sent out where many cities vied for this opportunity to host the new Amazon headquarters. All right. So let's think about what goes into this process. Whenever you have neoliberalism by design, where you have a big mega corporation send out an announcement to the city's mayors of every major city in this nation and say, hey, I'm looking to move or create this new employment opportunity. This is the opportunity for economic development in your city. What are you going to do for me in the form of tax breaks, in the form of other incentivization programs that'll make me want to move into your city? All right? Thank you, Smooth Cal. This is how she buys them couches. Thank you, Smooth Cal. Thank you for the $4.20 donation. This is how I do buy my pillows for my couch. All right? Okay, so this is what Jeff Bezos does. He understands that the fulfillment center or the HQ, whatever, the headquarters for Amazon, it was going to serve some city by giving them employment opportunities. Who was going to benefit from these employment opportunities? Not so much the locals themselves. There were some low-paying jobs that would benefit them, but it was intended to be for PMC positions, higher wage positions. It would be pretty much the case no matter what city that it would be bringing in transplants from other parts of the country to take on these higher wage positions. So ultimately, New York City gave Jeff Bezos the best deal, offered them the best incentives package, best welcome package. What was I can't remember off the top of my head, but how many millions in tax breaks or subsidies did New York offer Jeff Bezos to touch down the Amazon headquarters in New York? I can't remember off the top of my head, but let's think about the ramifications of allowing him to do that. Like I said, most of these positions would be higher wage, a lot of transplants coming in, not serving a community made up of low-income residents. Depending on the location of the headquarters, there would have been a major shift in the demographics of the surrounding areas. All right. Whenever you have this big boom in economic opportunity, that sends the green light to real estate investors, private equity firms. There's actual actuarial science that goes into real estate speculation, where they are given the opportunity to start, as soon as they get the news, they get to start overhauling an existing area that is low income, for the most part, to start flipping or gentrifying these areas to make room for the transplants. Remember those transplants, those PMC positions, so that they have a nice, shiny, new place to move into, because they are going to be making the higher wages. And this is also giving a green light to city planners, urban designers, and city council members, because you want to make sure that you're hospitable to the new people who will be moving in because of the H2 headquarters. You want to impress Mr. Jeffrey Bezos with a nice planned area that will allow these higher waged employees to enjoy the cityscape on their walk from their gentrified apartment to their new place of employment. And so this is how you start the design process. It's all part of the neoliberalism by design in our cities that do pave the way for mega rich companies to touch down in an area that will benefit the higher wage employees. We'll start to see a complete shift in the demographics of the surrounding areas. There will be a gentrification process to clear out all of the low income areas, replace them with a gentrified market rate or luxury rate housing, and then there will be an even further shift to revitalize the existing area, make sure you clean up the area, change the urbanscape to make the area look even more nicer. So more money is put into these areas to make them look brand new, shiny, accustomed to fit the needs of the rich new employees who will be taking on these higher wage positions. Who does that benefit? Only a handful of people. And what happened in order to stop that? AOC said no. She put her foot down. Because she was able to recognize what happens to all of these people in these low-income neighborhoods who are going to be displaced. Very few of them are going to be given opportunities to work in this new headquarters. Very few people are going to be able to take on the advantages or have the advantages of this new headquarters. In fact, the exact opposite is going to happen for these low-income communities. They are going to be displaced because their units are going to be replaced by gentrified units that will serve to accommodate the new rich people who are going to be working in these PMC positions. They're going to be displaced. They're going to have to move further and further away from their homes, and they could be at risk for homelessness. All right? This is the reason why it's okay to think highly of AOC, because of the way that she saved people from experiencing massive displacement because of Amazon. But the problem is that people who already have this high regard for Jeffrey Bezos, who just think that he's amazing because he's an innovative genius, and he brings about so many jobs that, only do improve the lives of the few who are able to take on these higher wage positions, desk jobs, and so on. Too many people have a higher regard for Jeff Bezos, and thought that AOC was the absolute devil because she stopped Amazon from touching down in New York. AOC was not trying to stifle the opportunities for the PMC so much as she was trying to save the lives of the low-income individuals who would be completely uprooted and displaced from their lifelong residences. See the difference? You can have respect for AOC for her decision and what she did. But the fact that too many people idolize Jeff Bezos for doing whatever he does, that is the issue. Good people use money to do good things. He tells people to refer to him as Jeffrey. New York offered Amazon $3 billion in breaks from for the HQ2. Thank you so much, BKOZM. That number escapes me. $3 billion in tax breaks. With a B, $3 billion. Jeff Bezos, the billionaire who has made $84 billion since quarantine, since coronavirus hit, slated to be the first trillionaire, made cities fawn over him, made them all work to give them the best incentive package in order for him to build HQ2. Do you know how sick that is? It's like, hey, if you want me, prove it. How hard are you going to work for me? It's disgusting, actually. It's disgusting. But companies do it all the time. They really do. It's not just Jeffrey Bezos. It's anyone with capital who has the opportunity to make to build a new or who needs to find a new location for the big box industry or whatever the case may be. And they just have cities pine after the company in order to find out what the best deal is in the form of tax breaks or other incentives. And then they use that. They bid for it, yeah. And then whoever has the best bid, they get the economic development. It's called negotiation. Yeah. Yep. Apparently Chris Christie was dangling $7 billion. Chris Christie was dangling $7 billion, so he was going to find a way to tax his residents of New Jersey more, right? That's all. All of this money comes out of the taxpayers' pockets, willing to find a way to increase taxes for their own taxpayers to be able to afford to pay Jeff Bezos or provide Jeff Bezos with some sort of tax rebate program, some sort of incentivization program, maybe just like straight up like breaks or whatever. Maybe no tips, maybe no run-of-the-mill tips that businesses have to pay. Maybe something like that. Just no property taxes. That's a big one. Don't have to pay property taxes for 10 years. Shit like that. All of that is part of the incentivized package. It's part of the welcome package. Problem is nobody negotiates for the people in the city except for people like AOC who did say, no, hold on, wait a minute. Let's run a quick cost benefit analysis on the people and how much the poorest people will be affected. And that is the reason why she worked as hard as she did to make sure that HQ2 did not come to fruition in New York. It's Saturday. That's what happens. It's also when all the landlords come out of the shadows. Could she have made sure those people were taken care of by the Amazon deal? There's absolutely no way to stop private market forces, especially when it comes to real estate, private real estate market forces is something not even AOC has the power to go up against. All right. Whenever you're looking at the subsequent effects of HQ2, it does come down to how many real estate developers would be looking to clear out these low-income, impoverished communities to make way for more gentrified market rate or luxury housing for the people, to accommodate the people who would be taking on those roles and at a PMC level, making higher wages, who would be able to afford that new housing that would be within walking distance of HQ2. That is part of the predatory process of looking at new employment opportunities. If you have new employment opportunities, then people who are going to be transplanted into this new employment opportunity is going to need a place to live. All right. And since it is incredibly one of the most desirable things right now, with the shift to even the Congress of New Urbanism looking to find ways to make cities more walkable, which is a desirable aspect of any city. And most planners will agree, urban designers will agree, you don't want to have to rely on public transportation if you have pedestrian-oriented development and connectivity or accessibility between where you live and where you work. Hell, I mean, people make that decision all the time. I know I did. So if there was an opportunity to buy up some of these lower income properties that would be within 10 minutes or so walking distance from HQ2 to a new area, real estate developers were 100% going to do that, because it was a guarantee that there would be a demand for this housing that's close enough to walk from this new Amazon headquarters to this newly renovated area. And so, yeah, AOC saw the writing on the wall, realized that there was an opportunity for real estate developers to come in and displace a whole bunch of low-income individuals and community members, and she put her foot down, as she should have. They were the people who were going to be the most affected. And because housing relies heavily on private market, that is the majority of the housing options that we have, of course we're going to jump on this opportunity to find a way to build more housing, because it was a guarantee that people who were going to be taking these positions would need a place to live. And like I said, people who enjoy an urban lifestyle want to try to work and live within a half-a-mile radius. It is the most desirable living situation. The idea that you don't even have to rely on public transportation to get to work is very much a desirable aspect of urbanity. So 100%, the low-income residents and the communities that were within this radius of the proposed location for HQ2 were 100% going to get gentrified. There's no question. There's no question. It would just be the next phase. Does that make sense? I'm sorry. I hope I'm explaining myself as clearly as possible. Why can't those communities move to where they work? Regulation allows for small businesses to thrive.
Dismiss the value of Tesla equity as part of our compensation package. Though it's a bit confusing, perhaps, when Elon says on an investor's call, I think that if people are concerned about volatility, they should definitely not buy our stock. I'm not here to convince you to buy our stock. Do not buy it if volatility is scary. There you go. There you go. So maybe it's a little okay to criticize some of Elon's practices and statements, even though he is also working towards positive change. Much of Musk's and his supporters' complaining seems unfounded and based on ego and unwilling to understand criticism. Musk heads, or musketeers, damn it, Musketelons, there it is. When Elon Musk and his Musketelons see reports of crashes in Teslas, they will first point out that the number of semi-autonomous crashes is still lower than just people driving. So why don't you people ever report on all those other car wrecks? And just casually looking around, here are 7 articles about that. Maybe the only ones you see and get mad about are the ones about you because they're the only ones you care about and are looking for. And also, when the product and technology is actively trying to remove a person's agency and personal liability for crashes and place it on software and hardware.
Amy, do you put your Twitch money into the stock market? No. I do not. I do not believe in the stock market. I live in fear that what the fuck, I hate America. Listen, if not investing any liquid capital that you have into the stock market makes you non-American, then I guess I don't believe in the stock market. Why would I? We're in recession number 2, if you can even call it that. I was in college during the 2008 recession. Economic insecurity is something that I've dealt with my entire life. Growing up in, kind of economic insecurity myself. I don't have a lot of faith in the stock market. I hope that's okay. Amy spends it on buybacks of C3 Industries. Absolutely, that is not true at all. That is not true at all. So you don't trust it? No, you don't believe it. I don't believe in it. I don't believe it in at all. I thought maybe it's not synonymous with believing in it, but I definitely don't trust it, and I don't see the good that it does. It's just one big gamble. It's one big gamble. I like the idea of at least keeping my money safe, where it's not subject to any losses. I know that the thrill of maybe making money off of investments is quite appealing to some, not to me. And that's on childhood poverty.
Perhaps more
BRB
scrutiny
chat.
should be focused on the companies that shift responsibility from individuals. Teslas are safer in many ways, with the automatic emergency brake, for instance. But whenever there's a crash of a Tesla on autopilot, the blame seems to be placed on the drivers, who are supposed to keep their hands on the steering wheel while autopilot is engaged. Every 2 minutes, the system reminds the driver to put their hands on the wheel. Of course, there are many videos online of ways to hack this annoyance by nudging the wheel slightly or putting an orange in it. Tesla's website also features an advertisement demonstrating the autopilot feature with a person in the driver's seat without their hands on the wheel, and a disclaimer that the driver is only there for legal purposes. But keep your hands on the wheel, folks, because if your semi-autonomous car with something called autopilot that's advertised as a hands-free feature crashes into an empty parked police vehicle, it's your fault. Yes, autonomous cars will save lives, but that doesn't mean scrutiny shouldn't be directed at those who are creating them. Musk is often just angry that he can't do more, faster, to achieve progress despite safety concerns. He's of the mind that in order to reach his goals for humanity, risks must be taken, rules ideally would be bent, and some lives are going to be lost. In regards to rolling out new autopilot software, he laments, "We look carefully at the regulations and make sure that what we do is in line with those. We can't do anything other than that because it would be against the law." And certainly an argument could be made that some regulations are tied up in bureaucracy and delay progress, but many are for safety and protecting the people. SpaceX is using an experimental fueling technique that NASA says could put lives at risk. In response to Musk's Hyperloop concept, in which a billionaire bores tunnels and creates a near vacuum underground, Adam Conover of Adam Ruins Everything is asked repeatedly, "Hey, what's the evacuation plan for the Hyperloop? Like, if something goes wrong, Which is not to say the Hyperloop is a bad idea, but consider the safety and lives of people when developing the humanity-saving project of getting people to places faster. One can achieve progress without being reckless, but unions, which are in place to ensure workers get fair wages and remain safe and protected, Elon says, are not aligned with Tesla's mission to accelerate the advent of sustainable energy, unlike selling flamethrowers, starting a candy store, launching a car into space, and buying 5 mansions. Speaking of regulations, whoa, here's some news. The House of Representatives has passed a bill to loosen regulations on banks. Regulations that were put in place to avoid another financial crisis. A financial crisis like the recent Great Recession, the worst financial crisis since the Great Depression, which was also very bad. The legislation affects all but the largest financial institutions, easing restrictions on smaller banks such as State Street, which manages assets of about $3 trillion. The bill has been signed by the president because of a country. Because the president, you see, hates regulation. Not specific regulation, but any regulation, as evidenced by one of his first executive orders that for every one new regulation, 2 must be removed. Just any 2. Because the free market has 0 flaws. And okay, so you know how we invented the idea of money? Literally, we just invented money. And we've sort of just all settled into the idea that if you have money, you can survive and can buy things to live your life. And the goal of this money thing is to make more of it. And often the best way to make money is to exploit people's labor and time and personhood at the expense of what's good or right for people and people's environments. Okay, so let's say that's true. And so you have a system built on money that rewards any behavior that results in more money. And you're just okay, do whatever. Just fucking have at it. Make money. No regulations, free markets. Yes. I'm actually starting to see where Elon's frustration comes from. We as a society don't really spend money on things that benefit humanity. Some of the things Tesla is doing should have happened decades ago. As soon as we realized that there was a giant battery in the sky and it was possible to harness its energy for the betterment of humankind, we maybe should have said, this year, instead of spending $650 billion on the military, let's spend $550 billion on the military and really try to tackle this issue as soon as possible. So Elon is desperately trying to play catch up. So I get it. We here at Cody's Shody want to make sure we're fair and balanced. TMCR. And in the interest of our journalistic integrity and goal of getting a 110% on Pravda, like our friends at Uncyclopedia and sexcult.com, it's right that we disclose the following. I have interacted with Musk in the past, so perhaps there is a conflict of interest here, and let me explain. A few weeks ago, in Elon's unwavering quest to accelerate the advent of sustainable energy, he tweeted, "I'm starting a candy company and it's going to be amazing." Twitter user Talia Jane suggested, "Have you ever considered getting into the affordable housing market? Just building a shitload of affordable housing in the most financially burdened areas, keeping rents low for decades, and actually leaving a lasting and useful impact on this planet." Now, one could argue that his work in electric cars and solar energy and storage is a useful impact on the planet, but the general idea seems sound. Another Twitter user responded to Elon's candy store idea with, "We don't want this boring crap. We want Westworld. Make Westworld." Elon took the time to respond, "What do you think we're living in?" without responding to Talia's suggestion, which received tens of thousands of retweets and likes. And I pointed this out in my own tweet, prompting Elon to respond, not to the woman who suggested it, but to me. Interesting. But his response was, "The Boring Company will be using dirt from tunnel digging to create bricks for low-cost housing." Now, my response to that was basically, "Elon, that sounds like you're selling your leftover dirt to poor people." Not super helpful, I admit. This was an opportunity to engage with someone whose work in certain areas I actually appreciate, and a billionaire no less, and I used it to be snarky. Which brings us to a segment we like to call What I Twish I Tweeted. Dear Elon, while this sounds like your plan to get into affordable housing is to sell your leftover dirt to poor people, it's neat that you claim you are getting into affordable housing and seem to care about the concept. As maybe you know, homelessness is on the rise. For example, it increased by 75% in Los Angeles over the past 6 years. There are more empty homes than homeless people in America, so good on you. But everyone is viewing this tweet of yours as an announcement that you're getting into affordable housing. But you already announced this dirt brick idea a few months ago. You said you are going to be selling giant Lego-style interlocking bricks for making sculptures and fun stuff. The first set will be Egyptian-themed. The bricks, you said, could also be used to line the tunnels you're digging. When someone asked if these bricks could be used for low-income housing, you said, yeah, the boring bricks are interlocking with a precise surface finish, so two people could build the outer walls of a small
that
house
moonshine?
in a day or so. Cool afterthought, Elon. So when months later you respond, the boring company will be using dirt from tunnel digging to create bricks, it seems like a billionaire's afterthought, because it literally is. Also, cost of low-income housing comes from things like land and, labor. When Ben Carson's Department of Housing and Urban Development raises rent on low-income housing, it's not because the bricks cost too much. You wanted to sell leftover
Smooth Cow, thank you for
dirt
gifting
to
a
rich
tier 1
people
sub
as a
to
fun
Wabi
toy and to line your tunnels, and
Abi.
you seem to be tossing a bone to the public.
Wabiz
Similarly, your idea
Abi.
for the Hyperloop came from your personal frustration with traffic and your frustration with public transit. There's like a bunch of random strangers, one of who might be a serial killer. Okay, great. And so that's why people like individualized transport that goes where you want, when you want. Only after months of people pointing out that individual transport is expensive and causes many problems for the public, and that when public transport is clean and efficient, people actually like it, did you change your tune and say you are adjusting the plan and your tunnels will still transport cars, but only after all personalized mass transit needs are met. It's a matter of courtesy and fairness. If someone can't afford a car, they should go first. Yeah, man, good change. Just because you're pushing for progress in certain valuable areas doesn't mean all of your ideas are good. And sure, you're the billionaire. It's your money. You know, I can't tell you what to do. You can do whatever you want with it. But also, you've received at least $5 billion in government subsidies, so is it all of your money? Also, as I said in a video that you haven't seen because I hadn't made it yet, because this is a hypothetical tweet revision, you grew up with emeralds in your pocket, and you made your first tens of millions of dollars with the idea for the Yellow Pages, but online. And you made hundreds of millions more dollars with your idea of a bank, but online. We live in a capitalist society, but capitalism doesn't reward doing things that help people. It rewards doing things that make capital. It's why Flint is still drinking poisoned water, but Nestle is allowed to pump 200 gallons of fresh water from Michigan every minute, put it in a plastic bottle, and sell it. Thousands of years of human innovation and collaboration and progress, cities, roads, but we can't provide everyone with free access to literally the one thing that all life has in common. But capitalism, it's why Jeff Bezos had the genius idea of
2018
Walmart,
video,
but
and it still
online,
applies.
and is now the richest
Flint
man
still
on the
doesn't have
planet.
clean drinking water.
What's he going to do with all of that more than
Even though it's
$100
better.
billion? Well, he's going to pay
And
low
even if
wages.
even if they are working on, and they should, Flint should already have clean drinking water. All of the damage that was done because of the corroded pipes and the lead that creeps into the drinking water that caused lead poisoning in children, the ramifications of that will have a lifelong effect of the victims who drank this water. So it still applies. Even a couple years later. But lead poisoning, yeah, it has issues that do have lifelong effects. Hi, Carl. Hey, Carl's here, everyone. Carl.
to his workers, not let them unionize, give them long hours and poor conditions, causing employees to skip bathroom breaks and pee in bottles for fear of losing their jobs. And he's going to build a mansion with 25 bathrooms and go to space. Cool. Space is cool, guys, and there are a lot of things we can learn from it. Even the basic concept of the oneness of humanity can be learned. Astronauts call it the overview effect. It describes the change in one's thinking after viewing the Earth from space. It's a change that doesn't happen from pictures. It can only be experienced when you're literally off of the planet, floating in space, looking at our home, far away, fragile, connected. Perhaps a bit more inspiring than sending a handful of people to die on Mars. Maybe once all of these billionaires finally get into space, they'll experience the overview effect and start doing more for the actual planet with their billions and billions of dollars. And we get it. You want to live on Mars, away from a bunch of random strangers. But some people want to live in apartments, away from not being able to afford to live. So when you're a powerful billionaire who complains about investigative journalists trying to hold you to account and speaking truth to power, and someone suggests maybe using your billions and access to solar panels and bricks and land and cheap labor and energy storage to build affordable housing in struggling areas to make a real material change in people's lives after saying you're starting a candy company, when your response is, well, my idea of fun giant Legos for rich people made from the waste of making tunnels to get away from people on public transportation could be used for low-income housing, it sounds a lot like you're just selling your leftover dirt to poor people. Send tweet. Bye.
We also have Elon Musk's Loop. It's bad. We've watched it before. It's Do Not Eat. Excellent video. Excellent video.
I bet I could smoke you, I could roast you, and then you'd love it. You text me I love you, and then I'd fucking ghost you.